All right, you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in again. This is Unfiltered Kings podcast, where men
Yeah.
and women talk to each other instead of at each other. Man, we try to take the same topic that you guys hear about. Where often we find ourselves talking at each other. We're gonna take that same topic, try to get a better understanding, whether that's from a male's perspective, female's perspective. But how can we get a better understanding of each other, man? Even if it means that we agree to disagree. So as always, man, I want to start off by shouting out my team, man. I got Carlos, Carlos in here. Carlos, how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, Jay. How you doing, man? Good to see
Man,
another
I'm
king on
chilling,
today.
man. Right, man. I'm kind of excited about this topic, even though we don't have
Yeah.
the ladies in this conversation. I promise you guys, it's coming. I know we
Oh yeah.
talk about conversation between men and women. It's like, well, what are women at? What are queens at? But I promise you, they're coming, man. You know, we kind of had some conflicts with schedule and everything. You know, life happens, but definitely we look forward to having those conversations. But in the meantime, what we're going to try to do is give our perspective. We're going to try to own our part in the whole 9 yards, and so hopefully, you know, we can get some benefit out of that also, man.
Yeah.
So, man, I think tonight's topic is going to be great, man, because it's understanding emotional intelligence among men and women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I will say, like we said before, Carla, this probably ain't gonna be popular because it's not the 140 characters or less, right?
That's right.
Um, this is going to take real conversation. You know, this is going to take
Mm.
real reflecting and things of that sort. But I think when we start trying to understand that conversation and emotional intelligence from a gender standpoint, I think what it's going to do, man, it's going to help us understand it from the opposite gender standpoint. So I'm looking forward to having a great show, man. But before we do anything, man, I definitely also want to shout out our other king, man, Frank Williams, man. He's not with us
Thank
tonight.
you.
He had other obligations, but definitely we look forward to having him, you know, on our next episode and future episodes. So, man, definitely get you some rest, man. We look forward to having you on the next episode. But as always, before we start, man, we want to kind of just check in, man, as fellas. We do this, man, because we encourage anytime you have a circle, man, life will be life in sometimes. And before we kind of jump in that thing, we just kind of want to check in, give a post check on just how we doing, man. So I just want to kind of reach out to you, Carlos, man, how your day went, how you feeling, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the greatest, 1 being the worst. Where you think you at in this moment?
Man, I'm at 10.
Where
I'm
you?
on vacation. I ain't do nothing today but eat, sleep, and play video games. And now I'm on the number one podcast. So I'm at a 10, bro.
Man,
What
now
about
you
you?
just knocked me down to 1 because I was at work. But now, that's good, man. It's always good, man, within your circle, even within yourself. Start having those honest conversations with yourself. Where you at? You know, life don't take commercial breaks, so sometimes you got to take them for yourself, man. You know, a lot of times we try
Yeah.
to handle these topics and issues in life, man, and we don't even take time to check and say, where am I really at? Am I in the position to take on this capacity? So I'm glad to hear
Hmm.
you on a 10. Man, I'm on a 9.5, man. Definitely, as I always say, I'm very excited. Been getting some good feedback for the podcast, so that's
Yeah.
always encouraging. Man. Just getting back to having good conversation. I think that's the biggest thing. It don't feel like a job or something to do. A lot of these conversations I have with my peers. I just had a conversation with 2 guys at work. You know, 2 coworkers who were very interested in guys having real conversation, right? A safe place where
Hmm.
they can just kind of open up and just talk about the stuff that they go through, man. So I'm definitely excited about that. Work is looking promising. Everything is good on my side of the world. So, like I say, a 9.5. I'd probably be at a 10 if I was on vacation and able to play video games, have a
Yes.
couple
Yes.
drinks. But I digress. I
I play.
digress. So
I
it's
play.
good, man. It's wow, bro. Really?
Hey,
I think your
what a
signal may
friend's
be
for.
up, man. I'm gonna let you have that one, bro. But man, look, without further ado, man, let's kind of jump into it, man. Understanding emotional intelligence between men and women. Now, you might say you don't have any women. No, we're not going to try to speak on them. We're introducing this as a series, and so
Yeah.
tonight you're going to see 2 men try to really understand this thing, have real conversation, man. We're going to try to take some of the things that we know females look with us, good, bad, and the ugly, and we're going to try to get some answers to it. But most of all, man, we're going to try to do some self reflection, man. And on this podcast, like we said, it's unfiltered. So if we share something, man, that we feel is personal, man, we don't mind sharing it if it can be a blessing to other people, man. So without further ado, Carlos, if I ask you, and just for the sake of the audience, right? What is emotional intelligence, right? Like that sounds like a big fancy word that sounds so deep or whatnot, but what do you think? What would be a starting point if you just heard the term emotional intelligence?
And that's a really good question, and I'm gonna answer from the way that I first approached it. And when I heard emotional intelligence, it gave me the thought pattern of saying, okay, how do I perceive my emotions? How do I understand my emotions? How do I project them? How do I regulate them? How do I handle them? Knowing that in doing so, it'll be a direct reflection on how I operate myself. So in essence, how I feel can be portrayed, be designed, or be directed in what type of way. So being in touch with my feelings, my theology and my background, to me is where emotional intelligence played the biggest role for me, understanding it first, understanding who I am, what I feel, and how I feel it. What about you, James?
Okay. Well, man, what I want to do, and I love that answer where it started inward. And we're going to try to work with technology tonight. You all, I know you all like seeing our handsome faces, but our faces going to get a little smaller. Because what I want to do, man, I don't want to have a podcast. A lot of times you find people give a bunch of opinions, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But what I want for those that we can really help people, I want to give them substance. I want to give them some facts. I want to give them some places they can go and really get this information, man. Because what we're going to find that, sometimes we use these big old words and whatnot, but the reality of it is, man, if you want the help, it's not hard, right? Some of it's just right nose, and we just have to kind of uproot ourselves in different circles and different places to go look at it. But I found an article, I'll try to put it up here, that I found very intriguing, and I want to read this definition here now. Of course, with me being a life coach, I still want to kind of give a format, if you will. And this is a Harvard study. We'll have this link with the this episode for you guys to kind of go back. We're not going to just read a whole book to you, but I do want to get some pointers out of there, if you will. So what it says, what is emotional intelligence? So the first part of that says, emotional intelligence is a set of skills that help us recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others.
Exactly.
Then I want to drop here, an instructor at the Emotional Intelligence Leadership. She said, emotional intelligence is critical to building and maintaining relationships and influencing others. Key skills that help people throughout their career and wherever they sit in an organizational structure. And so with that, let's kind of just piggyback right there. And that's why I said it was interesting in your response. If you notice, it's a personal thing first, right?
Yeah.
In this world where we're always pointing the finger at another person, I'm trying to understand you. I'm trying to understand my significant other. I can tell when my significant other wrong. Do we take that time to internalize first? It's a me thing. If I don't understand me, I'm understanding other people. And I think this is important with guys, because think about it, this is the opposite of what we are usually taught. I won't say everybody, right? Usually we're taught to mask all these things, hide this emotion, only out those quote unquote manly emotions, right? I'm not hurt, quit crying. We tell the boys, right? If they hurt, suck it up and quit crying. So what we do, we split it down the middle, and there you go. We create a gender bias. These are women emotions, these are men emotions. And if we find the opposite gender having that emotion, we look at them crazy. Oh, you weak, Carlos. If a woman show emotion, especially our, let's be honest, our black women. Oh, you acting manly. Why you show? But the reality is, it's a human thing, right? Let's say that from the beginning. It's a human thing. So you were spot on when you said it helped us recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, And once we do that, then we can look at the emotional status of other people. So with
Yeah.
that being said, Carlos, and now kind of giving a context of what emotional intelligence is. Now we can only speak for men because we're here, right? What
Mm-hmm.
are some of those you feel we as men, and preferably black men, are failed or taught wrong in looking at our emotions? Where do you feel that some of that comes from, or where it starts in our journey of maturing into manhood?
Okay. That's a real interesting place to start with because as we were talking, one of the key things that we want to make sure that we keep letting the audience know is that emotion doesn't have a gender. Feelings is nor male nor female. It's when you add a descriptor of his or her that it becomes more personal. But as for me, and I'm speaking starting with me first, is being told early you're a man and men supposed to do this. And when I heard it when I was young, it was just that. It was something that was said. There was no foundation to it. I mean, you're telling me men supposed to do this, but what is that we're supposed to do? And so as you get older, you begin to see things and say, "Oh, I see men doing this. I see that." Or to bring it even closer home, came from a single parent home. So my mom had me doing roles as if I was the man of the house. So I was told to do this and that in order for you to be a better man. I'm like, I'm I'm 10 or 12 years old. I'm barely holding a joystick. How am I supposed to know what a man is? So
Mm-hmm.
being told what it looks like, not actually seeing it or having instruction around it. Of course, you had the TV, the circular things in the world around me, but most of your development came from where you were at in your current surroundings. That's one thing that we don't take the time, especially as men, to take accountability for, and not just accountability, understanding is a better word for it. Your background. What did you learn? What was in place to help you formulate your idea? And then as I got older, I began to understand that man, that wasn't right. So either I had one or two choices. I could begin to try to correct it and be honest with myself, or I could stick with my pride and say, look, don't nobody know. I just keep faking this until the time comes around. So when you
Well,
start looking at that, go ahead, you had a question?
no, I wanted to kind of extrapolate some out there you said, because I think that's
Yeah.
where to our kings out there that are watching, that's where I don't think our pride don't allow us to admit that's where it starts to derail, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
taught the what, but we're not taught the how and the why, right?
Exactly.
And
Mm-hmm.
so if the what is wrong, even if I figure out the how and why, I'm probably going to learn that wrong too, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like when we were little, right? We thought
Mm-hmm.
when we grow up, we're going to have a car, we're going to drive everywhere. We're just looking at the what. But we understand the how and the why and the maintenance and the gas and, being tired, now I don't want to drive, you know what I mean? But a lot
Exactly.
of us, and think about it, man, on a serious note, as men. Now, again, let me preface this. This is not two men giving excuses.
Mm-hmm.
This is us understanding the why. So that
Mm-hmm.
hopefully if there are kings out there who can self-identify, then we can self-correct, right? So
That's the
I
first.
want to make sure that that's important. But the reality of it is, do you realize how dangerous some as personal and intimate as emotions,
Mm-hmm.
someone has already handpicked and told you simply based on your gender, not the fact
Mm-hmm.
that you're a human. Here are the ones that you should have, and these are ones you shouldn't have. Now you're still gonna have them emotions. Still
Mm-hmm.
gonna hurt. You're still gonna have all those things that we label, female emotions or weak emotion, whatever. But now, what do you do with these emotions? As a little kid, what do you do with these emotions? Because you're still having them, and even if you
Mm-hmm.
learn how to project that you're told to have, you still have them. And
Mm-hmm.
so there goes the danger right off the bat. You're being taught, A, be fake with yourself. And then you're keeping some in you that's steady building up over time. And then, like you
Following
said,
up.
then you're being
Mm-hmm.
influenced by social media, you're being influenced by entertainment, you're being influenced by the wrong situation. Every once in a while, you have a good situation. So you got a whole melting pot By the time you're a teenager, of just a whole bunch of stuff that you just know how to react to.
Exactly.
Right? And we go back to our definition. That's the opposite of it, hell. You don't know nothing about yourself.
Yeah.
You just know these same ones, anger and I'm a man and I got it. You just know these, but after a while, the wheels come off of them, right? And you start having these other emotions. Now, let's look at this, Carlos. What does that world looks like? What does that world looks like when Carlos and James cannot cry?
Yeah.
When they want to, when they need to cry. Because now they between two walls, judgment and vulnerability. We always talk about that, right? If I show this emotion being judged, I'm weak. As much as the world say, not saying there's not people out there who feel differently, but typically for men to cry, subconscious he's weak. Now, if we be vulnerable, we're labeled, right? If we don't show that emotion at the appropriate time, which we know have been taught with no appropriate time, right? Because little boy fall down, get up, we're being a punk. Now I'm judged when now I need to be emotional with my female. I need to show that softer side. Now I'm being judged. So now let's just for a few moments, let's explore that world. And I think this is important as we go back to our title, understanding emotional intelligence amongst men and women. Let's first understand the world they come from before I even get to you, my significant other, girlfriend, wife, or whatever. Let's try to understand. A lot of time, what we do, we just clash, and we just judge based on our world. I probably didn't come from that world, right?
Exactly.
So if you can and you started talking about it, but I wanted to kind of extrapolate that out there for where we're already off the road from our original definition of what emotional intelligence is, where again, a set of skills that help us recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions. So from what you just said, we can't even recognize it. We've been taught to suppress them, lose them in things. So now let's talk about that world a little bit more. What does that world now look like with those other emotions that I guess we're just supposed to throw away or not show? What does that world look like as a young man coming up?
And there was and man, you made a good point because you gave me a memory that I almost forgot. I already came up to a place where, like you said, Mom said, you got to be strong. You got to be a man of the house. You got to do this. You got to do that. And remember, I'm being told, not that I experienced it and understood it. I was being told that. So I had three younger siblings, 4 younger siblings, 3 sisters and a brother. And I was the oldest. And it was my job to look out for them. So I'm already doing something that I didn't know how to do. Now I'm being told what to do. Something, and I won't go too close in it because I hadn't got the right to talk to my brother and sister about to talk about this, but I'll say this enough. Something serious happened, and I had to make a choice. Not having the background of being a leader, not having the background of having the stability of understanding that I was secure in what I felt, secure in the choice I was making, secure in knowing what I do. The only thing I had that I remember was Mama told me to watch them, and I'm responsible for them. So when the situation happened, it wasn't even my fault. But when it happened, they all looked to me for the answer. So at that point in time, I had to grow myself into something and try to be something. And even I was forced to pretend to be something I never knew how to handle. So I had to make a choice, and the choice was made with an outcome I didn't know. Now, the outcome came out right, but I remember the fear at that time that I had. I had to make a choice, and I had 4 other people's, not lives. I had 4 other people that hung in the balance as well. 5 making my own, and that fear of that almost caused me to not make the choice. But
yeah,
because I was pushed into it and propelled to it, I had to make a choice based on something I didn't even know. And so from that experience, that molded me in that area to not move in that area because of that one experience. It wasn't until I got older. Come on.
No, no, and that's powerful. And I really want to make sure people don't miss these nuggets. Here it is, and I don't know what age you are, but even as an adult, I would say this is dysfunctional. And one thing we do,
Mm-hmm.
this is unfiltered, right? And so we try to preface to make sure no one in our audience is felt disrespected. We understand what society is, but sometimes, all the time, the truth doesn't care about who it hurts because it's the truth.
At all.
So you will
Mm-hmm.
hear us talk about parts of us and ourselves, and I like the fact you preface about you hadn't talked to your siblings. So we definitely gonna keep it respectful. But long story short, there's a part of our trip where we just got to get out to even make all this stuff relevant. Because you're gonna know
Mm-hmm.
that we're gonna talk later on about a thing called low emotional intelligence. No one
Yeah,
likes to be associated with something that's negative, right? But the reality of it is
that's
there's a
right.
lot of people walking around with low emotional intelligence. And so I wanted to kind of pull out you said when you said you were young. So we're already looking at immaturity. I'm not an expert on life like I am now, right?
Exactly.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm already feeling, we're talking about the world, right? Understanding emotional intelligence among men and women, right? And I put that title up there intentionally because a lot of times we think among men and women, we're already together. We didn't come out of our womb with a man and woman together.
Not
We
holding
came
hands.
from a whole separate environment that may
Mm-hmm.
operate in low emotional intelligence. And then we went into our second community, our
Yeah.
girlfriend, significant other. So if I didn't get that
Mm-hmm.
first community straight, I'm a mess by the time I get to you. That may be a reason to understand the type
Mm-hmm.
of work that's needed. It's not all just happy times in the whole 9 yards, but I digress. You said
Mm-hmm.
something that was interesting. You were already forcing to deal with an emotion that you weren't taught, you weren't prepared. But then here comes
Mm-hmm.
another emotion. We know as men, man, when you deal with fear, oh, that's a no-no. You're not supposed to be
Yeah.
afraid of anything, man. So now while
Mm-hmm.
you trying to deal with this level of ignorance, not knowing, here comes another layer called fear that I don't have anything like, and I know I'm taught wrong on this, but watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you have to do it first? That's a
Exactly.
mess. And
Yeah.
then here we go again to my queens out there. A lot of time we don't even know that because
Yeah.
that dysfunction started at an age, and all due respect, we should have been taught better. In
Mm-hmm.
the same way you can teach a child the right way, you can teach them the wrong way, whether it's directly and indirectly. I digress.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that the situation what Carlos talking about, you already don't understand these pack of emotions. You got the pressure of several others on how you just need to do the what. You don't know the how, the why. And then here comes this newfound emotion on top of that called fear. And so now you just have a cesspool of misunderstanding completely away from anything close to emotional intelligence because we don't really hear these
Mm-hmm.
words in our community.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you leave in a situation where I'm a lose-lose situation. I'll give you an example. And my brother and I, we talked about this, so I feel very confident talking about this. Love my father, may he rest in peace. But my father, early on, we realized struggled with pornography. And we did not realize that was passed down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because it is our father, it's more matter of factly versus a bad thing. That's low emotional intelligence, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
being taught subconsciously. I'm not saying that my daddy was passing us, a magazine, things of that sort, but you know how it is. You're young, you know what I'm saying? You're curious, you're looking up to your daddy. So when daddy step out, you make a way around it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I was in college that I realized the full magnitude of the impact of this low emotional intelligence. Because
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe, again, we're not making excuses, we're giving reasons. I firmly believe that the majority of interaction with women was sex.
Yeah.
Intimacy with women, I don't even understand what that is. But I fully understood that your interaction with women was ultimately, this is just the end result.
Yeah.
Anything after that, I'm not thinking about, I'm not worried about. But any interaction with women, right? That's the goal, right? Like there was no such
Mm-hmm.
thing as friends, like it, right? It's supposed to end in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dirty boy end. You're not taught this, right? And you're taught it the wrong way, and now you own it, and you don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And now imagine when you go into that, when I went into that secondary community of trying to have a girlfriend and whatnot, I don't think we need to belabor the point how many challenges it was. Let's just say that in that relationship, because that's the world that I came out of. That's the level of low intelligence, emotional intelligence that I was trying to bring into this world. And again, not believing or not thinking, or no one sent me down that, oh, this is bigger than what it is. This is impact you in a negative way. So I'm really trying to force and make this thing work. So it's almost like, Carlos, you drive a Lexus, I drive an Infiniti. It's almost like if I take my key and I go over to your Lexus and really try my best to crank your car up, it just doesn't work. And so I think when we talk about it like this, I give that personal example. One, we're unfiltered. But number two, I want our kings out there to really, reflect. You cannot get a real solution by identifying a fake problem. Like when Paul gave that example a while ago when he said, man, I'm dealing with this. And it's very important because you as men, we have a surrounding, whether it's good or bad, I digress, that's already pressured to fit this male ego, this male thing that the world sees. And then them real emotions that coming out. Every opportunity, every moment, every situation that we have, and they become. And before you even know it, man, before I even had a chance to talk to a female or entertain a female, I'm already a hot mess. Because what we don't want to talk about, and I'll turn it over to you, that some of this stuff was just taught wrong by the biggest influences of our life. Mama, daddy, uncle, cousin, guardian, whatever. Right? Because again, we're not even supposed to talk about that, right? So that's the respect. That's love, so I have to call you out on that. So you put all that together into my queens. Again, we're not giving any excuses. We definitely know pornography is wrong. We definitely know some of the things that men do is wrong. But what we're trying to do is paint a picture before we try to jump in and let's understand you and you understand us. And let me give you this nice thing that's bow tied up. No, let's be real and understand the world that a lot of us come out of. Because what's more dangerous, Carlos, and I'll let you expound on this, is when we keep this world a secret. It's shameful. We don't want to get judged. And I have this real world, and guess what? I try to give it to a young lady. I got these real feelings now. I got these real emotions. I have real intentions, but I got this word I've been hiding, like what Will and them say in a box with Jacques Cousteau couldn't come get if I threw it in the sea.
Yeah.
And I've never dealt with that thing, Carlos. But guess what's going to follow? It's going to follow like my shadow.
Man, one of the things that that brought to my attention that really had me thinking about it was I was given responsibilities before I was given a foundation. So in other words, I was told what to do before I knew how to do it. That left me making choices and decisions. See, if you think about it, as a man, if I do something the first time and it works, why would I come back around? Whether that way it works is right or wrong, if it seemed like it worked to me, I'm not gonna come back to it. So I end up keep reproducing a broken product. So as men, sometimes we don't want to talk about it, but we wasn't taught right about sex. We were not taught. Some of us told it was bad. Some of us told you're supposed to go out there and spread your seed. We wasn't taught. I came from a family that had a church background, so when we talked about Adam and Eve, all I knew was Adam and Eve and there were kids. That's all. So my first interaction with a woman was sexual. So after that point on, all I did was try to replicate the feeling because I wasn't taught that there should be more than that in there. So what did I do? I kept reproducing the process that was given to me. And it didn't help sometimes that the person that they wanted the same thing. Now, again, this is not an excuse. Exactly. It wasn't an excuse, but then I kept reproducing until one day I got a better understanding that it's more to it than this. But then again, and see, men, like kings, fear is not something that it comes once. It happens throughout your life, and sometimes it'll mold you. Pain is something that'll make you make a decision on something that you really don't want to do. Fear do the same thing. Once I realized that, come on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I want to just make sure we understand that one piece is that at that point, I had an opportunity to try to figure out, man, I got this wrong. Or do I keep going with it? Because like you said, I didn't want nobody to know I made a mistake or I missed or I didn't know. Go ahead, make your point, James.
And let me share this, man, because as a writer, man, we use words, we throw words around. And even as a life coach, there are certain words that I just don't have the authority to label people. And I want to take the time, some of you said, you just gave the definition of toxic. Toxic is not someone who have an area and opportunity because they're imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make me toxic because the reality of my upbringing made me develop a struggle with pornography early on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That didn't make me toxic. What becomes toxic is when I have all these emotions mixed up, and to your point, I try to avoid the hurt, the pain, the embarrassment, whatnot. So what I do, I just act out.
Mm-hmm.
And it spills out where it damages me and it damages other people.
Yeah.
That's why people are not open, kind of like we're talking here, because we throw those words around, and what those words really do, those words really suppress people being open and get it out. Well, I can't deal with it if I don't get it out. There's not a doctor, even sent to the best counselor, best psychologist, best psychiatrist. They can't go in. Even a doctor, the first thing he's going to ask you is your chief complaint. Now, he's an expert, but why he's asking you your chief complaint, Carlos? You know why? Because I need to first know how you feel to help give me a guide on how to help you. A lot of times we throw terms around. Narcissistic is another one. I could go on and on. But I really want to get that one toxic out. What Carlos described is that because of his circumstance and situation and his ignorance, that's another word we don't want to own. Ignorance is not knowing. Stupidity is knowing you just choose not to do. Exactly. So our ignorance develop a sense of toxicity around us to where that spills down on family and friends alike. Why am I saying that? Well, with my kings and queens out there listening, we at each other so hard, and we throw that label, well, you're toxic, and it has nothing to do with toxic. What it could be is that person is showing you signs of areas of opportunities. And if you really care for the person, or if you really love them, help them. Point them in the direction of help. Or if you're not in the space to deal with it, be open and honest, but still leave a person at least where they were at, not worse off. Because it's not like someone who's wanting help and dealing with something that they were taught. Could you imagine if someone just came to me right now and said, your name is not James, your name is Bob? It is going to take me years to not respond to James because I have been taught, just like this shirt is white, that my name is James. That doesn't make me toxic. That means that I have some deep misteachings. Watch this, Carlos. I first got to uproot.
That's right.
What they say, what is the habit? 21 days.
So
it takes time to uproot. And if you calling me toxic, like Carlos said, guess what? I'm trying to hide that because I don't want that label. So I think a lot of times women make that mistake. What are we willing to be a helpmate on? Both parts. Instead of just throwing that label of toxicity out there, oh, you toxic the whole 9 yards. And a lot of times people could be crying out for help, and that make them go back into their hole, so to speak. And so again, we're talking about understanding emotional intelligence amongst men and women, and what we're starting at tonight. You got two guys on here, and what we're doing, we first have identified again what emotional intelligence is. And again, I want to continue to put this in layman's term, the definition of what emotional intelligence is, because a lot of time we said early on, we try to understand the other person instead before we understand ourselves. But we learned tonight what emotional intelligence is a set of skills that help us recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as understand, recognizing the emotion of others. So what we're doing tonight, we're trying to be as two kings, say, hey, let's own ours. Let's look
Yeah.
and just be honest and real and transparent and unfiltered and see where we could have learned I was wrong before we even trying to make it better. You know what I'm saying? Let's make it better within ourselves. And then part 2 of this series, we'll try to make it, give the women the same opportunity, and then we'll try to work it together. See, that's a process. You know, in this day and age of our micro, we throw people away left and right. But what we'll find, there's a lot of people out there, if you can only imagine when we say low emotional intelligence, well, it's the opposite. If the more you go and more you talk about these things to where, you know, you look at Carlos' situation, look at my situation, and these are just one of them that we're sharing. The more and more you're taught wrong, to Carlos' point, it becomes your truth. It becomes matter of fact, right? So now what we want to do is turn our attention, now that we've kind of given kind of some example with guys and how we put our emotions out there without the how and the why. Now let's go back and say, what is the components of emotional intelligence? Because what we don't want to do either is beat each other down, even as men. You know, we do that a lot, Carlos, men and women. We see the problem, judge them, then we fix it. Did we point anybody in the right direction, right? Okay, I don't like that, but what am I going to do to actually fix it? So this is not to beat us down as men or point the finger. No, this is just giving our truth. This is the world that some of us come out of. I can go on and on. You know, there are some men who grow up where they see men putting their hands on women. Doesn't make it right, but we got to understand that. Could you imagine the low emotional intelligence that comes to that? If you've seen that years and years over time, right? It becomes matter of factly to you. And unfortunately, when you go into your second community, well, your second community going to judge you and call you out, right? Because they know that's wrong. But the reality, what does it? So again, we can give so many examples where, you know, we as men fail at that. And I'm speaking to our queens out, like, yeah, there are things that we fail at for the simple fact we weren't taught wrong. Now, again, is that an excuse? No. Because something Carlos said earlier, ultimately, we have to become responsible for our emotion, right? So what we're going to do right now, what does that accountability looks like, Carlos? I'm going to get my screen back up here.
What did accountability looks like? Well, first of all, it's hard.
So if you can, Carlos, if you can just read those two, and again, the reason why I want summons to be read, because eventually we'll put this link there, you guys. We understand that a lot of people don't want to, you know, be open in public, and that's fine. But I want to, some of this, you guys, if in your own personal time, can go back and maybe you need to do some self-exploration by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. So we'll have this link again associated with the episode once we actually post it. Again, emotional intelligence among men and women. So we talked about some of the dysfunctions that we come out as men, and this applies to women also, but we have men here. But now what we want to do is turn the page and say, what are some components of emotional intelligence? Okay, the reality of it is I had a low emotional intelligence on how I manage my emotions. Carlos had it. But now, here's a turning point where we got to be accountable, fellas.
Exactly.
We can't just be out there women, running over women, and use it as, well, I grew up this way. Well, my mom or my dad, well, by now, we can do something about it. So that's what we're turning the curve at. So, Carlos, if you can, up under the title of What Are Components of Emotional Intelligence, if you can just read those first three paragraphs, if you will, up under self-awareness.
Okay. So remember, we're talking about, and it just said there were 4 main components: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and social skills. But on the self-awareness, it says self-awareness is the ability to identify and understand your own emotions and impacts we have on others. It is a cornerstone of emotional intelligence, and other components of EI, which is emotional intelligence, depends on this self-awareness. It all starts with self-awareness, which is the foundation of EI, and it builds from there. If you are aware of your own emotions and the behaviors they trigger, you can begin to manage those emotions and behaviors, says Andrew, who is the author of this page. Our emotions impact our mood, behavior, performance, and interaction with other people. We're all having emotions all the time, says Andrew. The question is whether you are aware of these emotions and the impacts they have on your behavior and other people.
Okay, so let's this is where it's getting good. Because
Yes.
again, we live in a world, right? Men
Mm-hmm.
versus women. A real man, a real woman. Where the real men at? Where are the real women? Well, a real woman, when it starts at home,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to go in your backyard and talk about your weeds, Carlos. Well, my front yard, side of my house, in the backyard, trees hanging, and it's all raggedy. But if you
Mm-hmm.
notice right here, and that's why I want to put it up on the screen and read it, because again, this is not opinion-based information,
Exactly.
right? It starts with self-awareness. Now, again, we got men here, so we just gonna talk with men. Men, we got to take some accountability. We have to
Mm-hmm.
get to the point where we realize where we really are at and normalize it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make it a bad thing. And watch this, Carlos. That goes against what we've been taught. Because
Yeah.
men's supposed to have it all figured out, have all the answers, supposed to say all the right things, have all the answers at all the right time. No, man, some of that stuff around and realize, hey, I'm weak on that.
Yeah.
And that's my area of opportunity. Hey, I do not know how to do that. Hey, I've been taught
Mm-hmm.
wrong with that. I'm willing to learn. See, we have to have some self-accountability and self-awareness. Where are we really at? Before we get to that woman and we like her and we cut for her and oh, she could be the one, whatnot, have we done our proverbial homework on ourselves? Because notice what
Mm-hmm.
the author Andrew says, and I love this part, Carlos. We are all having emotions all the time. I want you to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Before I even get to trying to understand the conversation between men and women, you and I in this conversation are having emotions right now.
Mm-hmm.
Think about your first girlfriend or whatever, and in the audience, think about your first boyfriend or whatever, that first significant other.
Mm-hmm.
Think about at that. Now, up until that point, if the author says we are having emotions all the time, think about all. You can't even fathom all the emotions you had with every person from birth up until that point. Carlos, that's what we're giving that person without even thinking about it.
Exactly.
I just want to let that marinate.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't come out the womb, we don't learn this in school, emotional intelligence, understanding yourself. We talked about how men have been taught so wrong, that male pride, that male gender, and how to live into that. And then we ultimately come to this stranger, this opposite sex, who has also been having emotions all the
Mm-hmm.
time from a different vantage point.
Mm-hmm.
Say this, and I want to kind of get your thought process on that part right there. But this clearly shows that no matter how much you cut the person, how much they look, how much money they have, there's homework to be done between both of y'all instead of pointing the finger and throwing labels around.
Exactly.
At the very least, it shows that, look, we're going to have to really roll up our sleeves and get off into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts in the context of self-awareness, Carlos?
Yeah, especially talking to my kings out there. And again, we're not speaking from a place that we're guessing or that we're making this up. We're talking from experience. And we're still on the surface shallow. We hadn't really dug deep into it. We may have revealed bits and pieces there, but man, it goes deeper than that. But when you talk about self-awareness, I want to know if y'all paid attention to the first sentence when it says self-awareness is the ability to identify. There's another part though, not just identify. The next one says and understand. That's the key to it. Look, my brothers, just identifying it is not enough. What's the use of knowing that you're thirsty if you don't understand that you need to get something to drink to quell that thirst? When it comes to these processes we talk about, being aware that you have a background, being aware of where you came from, being aware when you come to the understanding, what are you doing about it? Again, like James said, what are you bringing to the table? Well, if you understand what you're bringing to the table, you'll quickly understand more about who you are and why you think that way. And man, it doesn't matter if you're 15 years old or you 55. Long as you're living and breathing, you're gonna have emotions and you're gonna have revelations. The catch is understanding, identifying, understanding them, and applying them correctly. I mean, again, your demographics, your theology, your background, your friendship circle, even the world environment that you're in plays a large part of that. We personally, and I know we hear this a lot, and this is not one of them shows we say, well, men, you got to do. No, you got to understand. Not just identify. This is not to blame you. You can't blame yourself when you identify yourself and you understand yourself. No one can take that from you once you gain that understanding and you begin that process. So I challenge you, and you start with one thing. Look at yourself, analyze and say, okay, let me look at me. Because if you think about it, and I speak for me, why she that way? Me. Why? Because I was broken when I got there. Instead of looking at where I was broken at, I just applied what I knew and tried to let it go. And then something erupted. What erupted was what I didn't bring to the table. I only walked in with what I wanted. Go ahead, James.
And my team, he makes a very valid point. And when we start at this level of self-awareness, I'll tell you right now, it's going to go against everything you've been taught. Now, again, there are some people who've been fortunate, where this was a conversation in the household. They had good examples, and, to God be the glory for that. When I'm speaking to those who have had to hide in the limelight or they put on this mask, we as men, we've been taught, what's that main thing we've been taught to bring to the table, Carlos? Finances, resources. You got to take care of me. I challenge
real man supposed to do this, so real man supposed to do that.
Because the number one thing that a man should bring to the table for all those things, not saying they don't have their importance, is emotional intelligence.
Exactly.
And to your point, your spirituality, your upbringing, your being taught does play significant roles in that. I'll tell you what self-awareness looks like. It will be everything on the other side that we've been taught. See, nowhere in this article does it say that these emotions are wrong. Let's erase that out of our head. When we was little, we teach our sons, hey, quit crying. That was wrong. Wasn't nothing wrong with crying. Crying is a human emotion. So go back to my truth of being unfiltered on Unfiltered Kings podcast that I just said earlier. When I had to become self-aware, take accountability for struggling with porn, do you know how hurtful that was? Do you know how embarrassing that was? Do you know how shameful that was? All these emotions, along with others, are the very opposite of what men are taught to deal with. You don't tell women that you should struggle with porn. They're gonna look at you crazy or whatnot, or judge, or you just think about sex and all that. That's the reason why. It's just like I remember talking to some friends, a group of guys. We look at a woman who's promiscuous. Oh yeah, that's the easy one. That's what I want to rub on. Do you know her why?
Exactly.
What if she came from a background where that's all men value? What if she came from a background where there was some incest? You don't know people's why. And so I struggle with that. When we're talking about self-awareness, we have to get to the point where we normalize giving people an opportunity to deal with their self-awareness. Because I will tell you, we all have our quote, we call them skeletons in the closet. But when I'm trying to put them on the table to deal with them to make me a better person first for me, because I don't know how to be a better person for you before I can be a better person for me. We cannot shame these people when they're at their stage of walking in their self-awareness. That's why I was talking about narcissistic, you're toxic, and all these terms. You're killing the person when they're in the infant stages. Again, when a doctor comes in at first, he can see the same symptom that he saw in another patient, but he don't automatically give you a diagnosis. No, you walk in my head, okay, he gives you something for a headache, but if you have a headache, if you don't have a headache and you have a migraine, I can tell you right now, you're going to do more harm than good.
Exactly.
Because a headache
Yeah.
and migraine is two separate things. Same symptom, two different things. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same way with emotions. Like the pastor just said, we're dealing with emotions all the time. Nowhere did
Mm-hmm.
it say, though, we're doing them correctly. So when we
Yeah.
finally get to this point of Kings, we have to normalize not avoiding the newfound emotion when we finally, like Carlos said, we got to look that thing in the face.
Exactly.
Even if it's something
Yeah.
as atrocious as putting our hands on women, you need to get help. And
Yeah.
if it means saying, I saw my father do that to my mama plenty of times. So I normalized in my head. Hey, my uncle or who, we have to get to the root of it because again, you can't find a real solution to a fake problem. So that
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness, people avoid it because it brings on those new emotions. Oh, swallow vomit. I don't want to deal with that. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
hurtful. It was when I realized when I say hurtful and shameful, I was hurtful and shameful for the women that I messed over. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That were gone, that had labeled me. I probably couldn't get a word in edgewise with them, and I can't get no do-overs.
Yeah.
And now you have this label on you. Oh, you're a player.
Mm-hmm.
You just want one thing. But
Mm-hmm.
again, remember emotion, it's for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to deal with that and own that because that's just the way the world is. We love putting labels on people. We believe certain things we forgive, certain things we don't, but we all want to be forgiven. I can go on and on and on. But I have to look deep within myself and say, oh, it all starts with self-awareness. We all have to mature to the point not to get a solution, Carlos. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
charge people for. There's no such thing as getting help on your own with some as pornography. No, you
Exactly.
need some outside. What we are responsible for is being self-aware that we need the help.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, once I became self-aware that I needed the help, oh shit, I got resources around me. I got counselors and stuff through my job and whatnot that I can talk to someone one-on-one. But as long as I wasn't even self-aware, I don't need the help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said,
James.
I know the art of it. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's all I want.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Carl.
I want to add something too, because as you were talking, something else came to mind. When you start identifying and you become self-aware, becoming aware does not mean labeling yourself or does not mean that you deserve it. See, sometimes our background, and you said something earlier that made me think about it. Sometimes our background begins to label us, and then we figure we got to deal with this because of the background. And that's actually not true. Um, like you said, you got labeled wrong from work from different people. And man, come on now, we've all done that. We've all messed with someone with a wrong understanding. Let's just be honest about that. And wishing we could go back. Sometimes we wish that we hurt bad, we go back to say I'm sorry, but you couldn't get that done over. But becoming aware, identifying becoming aware does not mean just take blows and take. No, listen to what James is saying. Once you become aware and you identify and become aware, seek the help. And it may not be your homeboy or your best friend. Sometimes it's someone that you don't even know. And we'll post something in a link too on some places to go and talk and speak to someone. It don't always have to be your pastor or your mom or uncle. It could be anyone that you're willing to get the help from. And don't just stop there. This is not a one-time thing. This is a growth process. You didn't get there overnight. So don't look for an answer or look for that identification overnight. One step at a time, one foot in front of the other is all we can do right now.
Carlos, that's huge what you just said, man. Because usually by this time when we recognize self-awareness, sometimes we do it, some of us younger than others, but by the time we get to the point where we're ready to deal with self-awareness, here's the thing about it, we've already got that circle built. And that's the
Exactly.
number one mistake. So I just talked to one of my good friend, my home girls, man. We just had a quick dinner, and man, she said something that was very interesting coming from a woman. She said, usually when you all hurt us, you all run to your circle, and that circle pacifies it, insulates it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And sometimes it's not even intentional, it's just out of loyalty, right? That's my boy. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
all right, man. It's not that bad. So sometimes you may very much well find, okay, I'll keep this circle, but I need to set this circle aside or step outside that circle and go get more objective advice. Because man, let's be honest, we do live in a society. We are not naive on Unfiltered Kings podcast that we don't understand what society is. When you're talking about, I promise you, after this podcast, no matter everything we talk about, people are gonna remember Jay from, oh, he struggled with pornography.
Yeah.
Some people love the negativity, and you may have some time of them people in circle because they was only cool because you was keeping quiet. You weren't dealing with the real you. So I like that. I like this version of you. But when you start dealing with some self-awareness, I might start changing. That's okay. But to your point, we don't want to be so loyal that when we finally become self-aware, we go to the wrong people and or places to try to deal with it. Because what we'll find, as Carlos said, been saying several times, we deal with emotions all the time. Well, now we dealing with even more, whole nother set of emotions. When I first started getting counseling for struggling with pornography, I had to go back deep in my young years at home with the family and really uproot some things. Do you think I think it was my sophomore year in college. Do you think I want to deal with that right now? No, lady, give me some right now. So I can just, swallow it like a matrix pill and I'm done with this.
Keep going with it. Yeah.
Like Carlos said, your struggle one short term, your solution not short term. So all in all, man, give yourself an opportunity to become self-aware of these issues because we cannot keep giving ourselves permission to going out there hurting the opposite sex and then coming back in our house saying, what's wrong with females? Why ain't no good women out there? Well, hurt people hurt people. But one thing people never say about that phrase, Carlos, is that usually there are times the second person was hurt only because of the first person's hurt.
Exactly. Yeah.
So both are hurting, but both are not hurting from the same reason. Fellas, I need us to get this. Again, we're going to give them time to break theirs down and talk about us because we know we deal with some hurt too. We're not getting into the gender bias wars. What we're saying is that a lot of times our hurt that we don't deal with causes hurts in females, and now they hurt call the reaction that they spew back on us. We can't cry wolf on that. Because the same way when that hurt is reciprocated, guess what? We talked about an episode when my ex-wife cheated on. What does that look like when the woman cheats? Well, I know how that feels, so guess what? I damn sure got to be cognizant of how it feels cheating on a woman. So it goes both ways. Kind of like Carlos and I said in the beginning. We make these things so gender biased, and we realize, no, that's a human thing. Yeah. Hey, how about everybody just don't cheat? Everybody don't cheat. Nobody gets hurt. We don't have to deal with who hurt who and who got to apologize. We don't have to get off in the weeds on it. So it's very important, fella. And I wanted to take some time. We'll move on to these other stages. But I want to take some time because that's very important with us as fellas. Fellas, that self-awareness is not going to look like anything that we've probably been shown to talk or even want to deal with. Because in the moment when we become self-aware, it's going to bring back some emotion that we probably been feeling low-key.
Yeah.
Now we're going to deal with it. Now we can't put it up on the bed, Carlos. Now I can't drink that away. Now I can't go out to the club and, and the whole 9 yards. Because I'm in college. I'm known. And like Carlos said, not glorifying it, but sometimes in this sick world, some good reputation come out of it. I put that in quotation. Oh, you got it. Oh, shit. Now, how that look with me? Now, when I'm ready to turn over a new leaf, it's still females out there. Man, I want to get with him just for, oh, crap. So you have to be ready and willing, not only, and I think Carlos alluded to it, not only deal with the emotions that you pat down or was taught wrong on, but watch this. We can't deal with the newfound emotions that come while we're in our self-awareness without dealing with the emotions of the past that we learned wrong. And I think that's the mistake a lot of us make, Carlos. These new emotions, the embarrassment, the the guilt and all this, we try to mask those, and we never go back to the root. So let's move on. We're talking about what are the components of emotional intelligence. We first started talking about some of the areas as guys where we can operate from low emotional intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence start inside out, not outside in. I'm not trying to fix her. I'm trying to fix myself. So we first looked at what does that look like, man? Let's go back there and be unfiltered about it. Oh crap, some of that was ugly. That's why I didn't talk about it. That's why I packed it down. Mama said this, daddy said this, uncle said this, auntie, grandma said this. So I just learned what to do. I didn't learn the how and the why. Now that I'm at an age where I become self-aware to, oh, I need to go back and learn the how and why. What are those stages now on the road to becoming emotionally intelligent, right? I don't read before I learn my alphabet. I learn my alphabet first. Then I learn how to spell words. And then I learn how to put sentences together. Then I learn how to read. It's a process. So that first process of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. That second goal is self-regulation. And again, we're reading this because we want to make sure we're giving a lot of our examples. We're having some opinion there, but I want to read what the facts are. So those who are out there who really want to use this information, they'll know where to go this and get this help, because we'll post this link with this episode. Self-regulation, self-awareness opens the door for self-regulation, which is the ability to manage these emotions and behaviors. Once we're aware of our emotions, we can begin to manage them and keep the disruptive emotions and impulses under control. People with strong self-regulation can pause and take a deep breath in tense and stressful situations, explains Andrews, again, like Carlos said, the author of this article, which helps them remain calm and think before they speak and act. Yeah, I wish I could read this whole thing for you. This is a really good article. And this really, Carlos, could do a whole episode on each one of these, to be honest, but we're going to get into the confines of this one right here. Self-regulation opens up the door, self-awareness opens up the door for self-regulation, which is the ability to manage these emotional behavior. Carlos, that's the number one thing, go full circle, that we're not allowed to do as guys.
Yeah.
Right? We're not allowed to manage those emotions because we feel them. Right? You fall down, quit crying. You ain't supposed to says crying because you ain't supposed to do it.
It hurts.
There's heartbreak, Carlos. Oh man, it's out there. You ain't supposed to understand her feelings, her emotions. Maybe something you said wrong. You ain't supposed to care about that. Right? Move on to the next one. Hurt the next one. Even if it's indirectly. Carlos, before we jump up to this self-regulation, how could you have used, when did you learn how to use the component of self-regulation as the author put it? You talked about the time where you became self-aware, and something's not right here. When did you discover the need to, I need to own these, not only own these emotions, but I need to find the correct way in using them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, and actually, here's what a rubber meets the road, per se, is what they say. I learned that a little later in life because I kept going through the process. See, men don't want to admit that they didn't have it right, so I kept doing what I knew until one day I realized, after feeling what hurt was, I'm like, it made me clamp the brakes down and say, wait a minute, is this what this feel like? And I began to understand what I've done. And then I started saying, oh, I got to do better with this. So at that point of becoming aware, which is identifying, understanding the feeling, and then I begin to regulate, begin to put perimeters around boundaries around myself, who I was around, what I was around. I began to look to realize that it could have been the people I was with, the places I was going, the routines I was used to. So then I started putting those things into the process. So that's where the regulation came in, because when it says manage, I didn't manage me. What I did was understood and began to manage the emotion. So I stopped putting myself in places that spark that emotion, and that's where men, kings, you got to understand that this is not a fight just on your own. A lot of times you deal with issues and problems because you're in the place where the problem is at or persists. It's not till you
Reactive.
begin. Exactly. Not until I understood that I began to remove. Once I started removing myself one from place from this place, my emotions began becoming clear, and I was like, "Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. That wasn't supposed to be that way." So then I was like, "Wow." So then that part I began to then, and again, just being honest, it wasn't until my late 30s
Now,
that I
Carlos,
was like,
when you started this, was you perfect? Did you just come
"No."
out the gate, manage them emotions perfect? I'm boom. What the article says, remain calm, think before you speak it. Was that just out the gate? Boom, I got it now. I dream a genie. Bang, got
Mm.
it. Was like that,
And it's
right?
funny you say that. Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that because then we can bring it back around to that first time I said I was given responsibility before a foundation, and then fear hit. And to avoid that fear, I never went back that way. So I kept going that other way. So I never took the time. So instead of looking at who I am, I just kept going towards what I felt like I should know, or that I was told, or that I saw that uncle did, that daddy did, that the neighbor across the street did, or that the group that we hung around they did. So I kept going that direction because everybody else was doing it, or it was the safest bet. It didn't, and I didn't have to deal with that fear, or I had to deal with those emotions that did cause something to either replicate fear or replicate pain. So, or even say it even for the fear of the unknown. So that was a unique part, and that was early on. So some of my early experiences, which is remember foundation, the object, background, had me moving in that direction. So it's funny that you said that, James, and I kept moving the best way that I could. And again, here at Unfit to Kings, we try to talk it to where you understand who you are and what you are and how it's applied. So then I kept moving. So now when it comes to regulation, you have to understand what that means. It tells you to maintain, to control, and not really control. It's more or less understand and begin to process it in the right way, in the best way that we can. So yeah, I had a hard time, and I was really young then. Um, I'm not gonna say the sad part because I have to kind of put that back on me, even if it was something that was forced or unforced by me. It wasn't applied or understood to a later age and a later date. And I thank God that in between the time I didn't um, fall victim to my own self doubt, any self pity or something like that. So it's real interesting.